My Clubhouse. My name is Sally Colón, and today I have an incredible guest, as usual. He is a #1 best-selling author and a serial entrepreneur. Please help me welcome Mr. Ryan Blair.
Thank you for having me.
We have an actual live audience today, which is really fun.
I can feel it. It's beautiful.
It's good. I just finished reading your book, like on my way here to the studio. I've been listening to it all week. I'm so impressed by you.
Thank you.
Like, you are just this like super powerful, like I'm like all creative. You're like business, powerful, spiritual. There's so many, parts of you. But your book, Rock Bottom to Rock Star, like, what was the biggest inspiration for writing that book?
Well, I've had a lot of rock bottom moments in my life, and I manifested a life that I guess would embody the virtues of a rock star, but an entrepreneurial rock star, a business rock star, I guess. I couldn't sing and dance, so I pursued other outlets. But, I've experienced a lot of adversity in my life, and as a result of that, I wanted to help others through their own adversity and teach them some of the techniques that I've learned, to get through some dark times.
So, just by the way, for everybody that's watching right now, there might be a musical number that Ryan and I do together. So make sure you stay tuned for the whole show, right, Ryan?
Yeah, I'm in.
You agreed in the beginning. You can't take it back now.
I won't. I'll do my best.
Okay, awesome. There's so many parts of your book that I was just blown away by. And I have to say that one of the moments as I was driving here, we were talking about this earlier before the show, was the moment that your mom was in the hospital. I just want to give me a little bit of that moment where you found out your mom had fallen and then she was in the hospital, she was in a coma for almost 2 years.
Yeah.
And that moment you came into the hospital and she whispered your name.
Yeah.
Like, what was that moment for you? I had chills, by the way.
Yeah. Well, it was a very spiritual moment. My mom had fallen down a flight of stairs due to alcoholism, and she was in a coma for 2 years and a severe head trauma. And so when you have a loved one in a coma for 2 years, it's traumatic. Every single day you're wondering if this is the last day, if she'll ever wake up. And it's like going to war for 2 years. Wow. And she didn't have a living will. And so I had to petition the court to get approval to take her off life support. I didn't want to. And I'd go and I'd cry and I'd pray and I'd say, Mom, if you're in there, please wake up. Your son's here. And one day I went and told her that I had received approval to take her off life support. I'd ordered the hospice. I'd even talked to the hospice about the amount of morphine they were going to give her, because I didn't want her to suffer any longer. And I said, if you're in there, you got to wake up now, because I don't want this on my soul. I don't want to take your life if you want to live. Right. And I begged and I pleaded and I begged and pleaded to God, and God answered my prayers, and I came back the next day and she was up. She was ready to come back. Yeah, and in retrospect, now that she's transitioned, I know that she came back for me because I wasn't ready for her to leave.
Wow. And then one more thing, because this was not in the book, and I asked you when I came in, is your mom still alive? Because the book was in 2016, and you said no. But there was a spiritual moment that you had with your son before your mom passed away, and I just wanted you to share that.
When my mother passed away, it opened me up completely. I went through the most radical transformation, physically, mentally, and spiritually, that I could ever imagine. And during that process, the best way that I could describe it is I had so much deep love for my mother and her for me that when she transitioned, she just showed right back up. It's like she petitioned God for the assignment to come take care of me and help me heal, because I had 7 years worth of darkness, and years prior to that as well were very difficult in my upbringing. So there was a lot to heal there, and I feel like she just showed up and started helping me heal. And my son had autism at the time, and there was a moment where I took him through a baptism, and when he came out of the water, his eyes had changed and the autism had left him. Incredible. And so, people ask me, like, where does my faith come from? And it comes from moments like that, begging God to give me another moment with my mother and having my prayer answered and witnessing that miracle.
Everyone grieves differently, obviously, and we were talking earlier how it's hard to be around someone that's grieving because it's very uncomfortable because you don't know what to say. Right? One thing that I've learned, because we were talking about me losing my mom and dad as well, is in that moment, I feel like what you really need is just to have someone hear you. Yeah. You don't really need people to rescue you from that moment. Yeah. You just need to be heard.
And you need someone to suffer with you.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, and most people can't suffer with you. And in fact, by them witnessing you suffering, they suffer. And so it pushes them away from you. And when a person's in a time of grief, the last thing they want is people pushed away from them. Even if they're pushing away, they really want you to pull forward. They're begging for help. They're crying for help, even if their actions don't support that. And so, yeah, I made a deal with God that if He helped me heal, I would help as many people heal as I possibly can. And that's my life's mission now.
So you made a deal with God.
I made a few of them in my life.
That's not a bad deal, though.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, it's a big calling, though. It's not easy, and a big calling isn't easy. I've had to develop character and competency and develop myself in this process. So I'm in my own transformational journey as well.
Yeah, I can tell you have this like very peaceful, calming spirit, but your background is crazy. I mean, you were in prison for a while. You were in gangs. Right? You have tattoos. Like, you had quite a background. And I, like, meeting you when you first came into the studio, I was like, but he's not that guy from back then. You know, you could tell that you've had a transformation and you're just in a place of peace. You could see it in your eyes. You have this aura about you that's, like, really beautiful to be around.
Thank you.
So let's shift over to what a freaking rock star businessman you are, because you started with nothing. No money, no dinero in the bank, right? And you ended up selling one of your companies for 700 million, was it? 790 million? What was the exact amount?
792 million.
Dang, that's a bag right there. And then you sold the company, and then it was going to go, you were going to sell it as an IPO. Is that the right verbiage, or is that the wrong verbiage?
We were in the process of taking it public when we ended up selling it. We chose not to go through the public offering and chose to sell the company instead. Yeah.
But that was like a fully last minute. Weren't you like in New York and you were in front of the bankers and they were like, this is how much? And then you were, I heard, because I was listening to your book, how you were like, oh my gosh, you were already spending the money. And then something shifted in you and you're like, I'm going to say no.
Yeah.
Like, that's a crazy decision that most people wouldn't make. Why did you make that decision?
You know, I've always, and the best way to describe it, now that I look back at it, I've always had a guide or a guardian angel telling me this isn't the path for you. And in my best, I've listened to it, and in my worst, I haven't. So I would have to give all credit to the spiritual forces at work that we cannot see, the intuition. You know, that moment, I just knew that if I made this decision to take it public, it would have gratified my ego. I would have rang the bell. And I knew that those were forces pulling me toward the offering. And the things that I really should have been thinking about were what's best for my shareholders, what's best for my team, what's best for the company. And so I had to override the forces of the ego to make the decision not to go public. And in retrospect, I'm glad I did, but it wasn't a favorable decision by many people.
You had some people mad at you.
A lot of people were mad at me. A lot of people lost hundreds of millions of dollars. I gained, but a lot of people lost because they were betting on the publicly traded company.
Wow, that's incredible. So you had I would say he was kind of like a mentor in your life. When you told your mom, I'm leaving school and I'm going to go and continue working for the business that you were already growing at that time. And she, of course, was like, what? What do you mean? Just like a mom, right? She wants to, stay in school, get your, degree and all that stuff. But then you went to the university that you were attending at the time and said, this is what I want to do. And tell everybody what the dean said. And I feel like that was like a life-changing moment for you.
Yeah, so I was going to be the first in my family to graduate college. And I started at a community college, and then I was able to transfer to a 4-year university, applying for federal assistance because I was poor. So this was a big deal. And I got to the senior year, and I had started a business that had already become a multi-million-dollar business while I was in college. And I was perplexed because I wanted to build this business. I was recruiting professors to come help me build my business. And I went to the dean and I said, I have, a dilemma here. I want to continue my degree, but I also have a company with, at that time, maybe 20 employees, and it was growing. And he says, you need to leave. And he says, I'm paid to convince you to stay, and I'm paid to convince you to pay your tuition. And at this point, it's best for you to leave, and you can always come back. And I don't recommend people leave college unless they have a multi-million-dollar business on their hands. So that was the decision that I had made. It was based on the fact that I'd already had a real business that was really growing at the time.
Now, have you gone back to that school to speak?
I have, yeah.
See?
Yeah, the dean said that I'd one day be a keynote there, and I have.
Yeah, I remember you saying that in the book. So you've had, and you still have, gorgeous houses in the Hollywood Hills, very sexy, sports cars and the clothes and all of it. But what truly makes Ryan Blair happy?
I love animals. I love nature. I have a cabin off the grid in northern Arizona. It's very humble. It reminds me of the way my mom and I were raised. It's like a 300, 400 square foot place, and there's no heat or air, and it's very basic necessities. So I like to go back to zero and re-experience nature and go off the grid. I like to be with my son. I have a 13-year-old boy, Reagan, and I just came back from a trip with him to northern Arizona. And so, my dog, I have this beautiful dog named Berlin.
What kind of dog?
She's a giant schnauzer.
Ah.
Yeah, she's my soulmate dog, I guess. So, just very simple things. All the material items, I have a different relationship with them now than I used to. The things that I used to own began to own me for a period of time.
More money, more problems?
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah.
Yeah, lots of lawsuits, lots of problems. And now that I've simplified my life and, I've dedicated my life to service, I no longer really covet the same things that I used to. One of the things you had said earlier about my personal transformation, it's a testament to God.
Yeah.
When people say people can't change, I hope that people will witness me and the changes that I've been through as living proof that God can change a man's heart.
Absolutely.
Because my heart was filled with toxic thinking, with sin, with temptation, with so many negative things as a result of the way I was raised and the decisions I made as a result of the way I was raised. And I'm here to tell you that a person can change if they turn their heart over to the Creator and if they seek to become obedient and they seek to do what's right and to work for the higher power.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Everything you just said. Here's the thing, when you're watching, for the people that are watching on Amazon and Instagram and TikTok, like, those are not just words coming out of his mouth. Those are words that can transform your life. Like, you're living proof that you can change.
Yeah.
I'm also living proof. We were talking about that earlier, that you can change. So if you're out there and you're like, this is my life, oh, well, this is what it's going to be forever, that is a lie. It's false. You can change. Your life can transform. Yeah. He's living proof. I'm living proof. And so be encouraged that there is a journey that you're supposed to be on if you're open to it. So I just wanted to reiterate what you just said. So we're going to take a quick Amazon break because they are our partners. And I'm going to show, first of all, I want to know, what's the last thing you bought on Amazon? Do you remember?
I bought on Amazon.
Because I'm sure that you're like every day on Amazon.
Yeah, I have packages arriving in my house. It was a book.
It was. What book was it?
I bought a book by John Maxwell called The 21. It was a 21 Spiritual Laws of Leadership. It's basically a biblical breakdown of how his 21 laws apply biblically.
Yes.
Yeah, so,
I have the other book, the 21
Laws of Leadership.
Right,
Irrefutable Laws of Leadership.
Yeah, I have that book.
So I wanted to dive deeper into biblical stories of spirituality, and that's where I'm called now, is to research the Bible and learn different perspectives around the Bible.
Well, the last thing I bought on Amazon was Ryan's book.
Oh.
Rock Bottom to Rock Star. So make sure you guys check that book out, especially if you're like me. I'm not a business person. I was telling you earlier. I'm not a money, numbers person. Anyone that knows me, Tim's in the audience, and Angie, and they all my friends know I'm creative. I will sing for you. I will direct a movie for you, but don't ask me anything about banks or money because that's just not my thing. But you and your book was motivated me so much. It made me actually go I could maybe learn this stuff, that I was just going to show you guys a few things. There's also some incredible things in the carousel. Make sure you check it out. So back to you, Ryan. I want to show you guys, I never do this, but I want to show you guys all my notes that I had to take because Ryan was so interesting to me. I had to go sideways with my card right here. So I have all these things. So let's talk about this is something I don't know if you're comfortable talking about, but you were talking about you had a learning disability when you were younger.
Yeah.
What was it?
Well, I was held back in second grade, and I was diagnosed with attention deficit disorder. I had dyslexia as well, and I was never very good at school. I've since learned to manage my attention deficit disorder by way of meditation and by way of mindfulness practices.
Good for you. I mean, just that alone, if you guys can listen to that, because obviously, I love my doctor. She's female, Dr. Adler. I love you. I'm seeing her next week. But I feel like every time there's just one thing, I have ADD or I'm stressed out, or it's immediately they want to give you the pill, the blue pill, the white pill, whatever the colors are now. But what you just said was so powerful because you had this, disability, but you combated it with meditation.
Our school system is just broken.
Yeah.
Even our psychiatric system is broken. We label people and we basically condemn them to a life that they should have shame or guilt, or they're different, or they're not normal. And it's like, nobody is normal. We're all 100% unique. And so I have a big issue with the psychiatric system labeling people and the school system labeling people. And frankly, it's just ridiculous. Like, I was a genius that they totally misidentified. They misdiagnosed. I later go on to pay over $100 million in taxes.
Wow.
And all of the people that were supposedly supposed to care for me and develop me thought that I should just be thrown to the wayside, and that they should focus their attention on other children that were more normal. And so I have a big issue with that. And, and I advocate for, children that have special needs. And, having had a child that had difficulties with autism for the majority of his life, I've taught him that these adversities are his advantage, that this is what makes him unique, and that he's going to be a rock star entrepreneur. I mean, the young man, he's 13 years old, my boy, he out-negotiates me today.
Wow.
Right? So if he can beat me in a negotiation, he could beat anybody in a negotiation.
Yeah, I love that so much. Okay, so you promised me that you'd do a little song with me. So we were talking right before the show started, and we were just talking about my history, his history. I'm a singer. He didn't know that. He's a singer. I didn't know that.
I'm learning to sing.
You're learning to
I'm
sing.
not a singer.
Okay, you're not a singer. But we were going to sing. Which song were we going to sing? Do you remember?
I don't know. Was it? It was the national anthem.
Was it the national anthem?
Can you sing that? I'm trying to pick the hardest song right
No,
now.
there was a song. It was like
no.
Are you going to do that one?
You know what?
No, let's do a Christmas one.
This Little Light of Mine, I think.
Okay, let's do that one. Yeah. Are you going to start it off? Go ahead.
This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
Thank you. That was really good.
My voice is rough today because I had a singing lesson right before I came in.
I like the rough.
Do you?
I do. I like the scruffy. You got the whole scruffy thing going on. Okay, speaking of all that, are you single?
Yes.
Are you on Bumble?
Are you interested?
Maybe. I mean, hey, I'm single too. But no, I was going to say, God, that was awkward. Hang on. Am I blushing? Okay. Are you on Bumble, Hinge?
No.
You're not on any of those?
No.
How do you meet girls?
It's an issue that I'm working on. Maybe someone in your audience can, point me in the right direction.
I can help you out with that.
Yeah.
I can help you out with that. All right. So listen, if you're single, what's your number? I'm kidding.
Yeah. at Real Ryan Blair on Instagram.
Oh my God, look at you. He's available, girls. Okay. All right. Listen, let's go back to the interview. So awkward. Okay. Your book is available on Amazon. You have how many books?
Two books.
You have 2 books.
Yeah.
Are you writing a third one?
Yes, I am.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the title?
Altar Call.
Ooh, can we talk about Altar Call?
Yes.
Yes. Tell me all about how it started, what it is, for people that don't know what it is.
Well, when I was, as an entrepreneur, when I went through my spiritual transformation, I had 2 years of total isolation where I went deep into my relationship with God. I sought to heal myself. I went into meditation, and during that time, I'd shut down all business activity. I'd resigned from boards, walked away from investments, walked away from tens of millions of dollars. And I said that I'm going to figure out a new way of doing life, because the way that I was doing life was toxic. And the idea that I was going to burn myself out and pursue materialism and seek the trophies that I was seeking and do life the way I was doing it was just a failed way. And so I regrouped. During that time, I prayed to God, what should I do next? And I got the message that I should help people alter their lives so that they can answer their calling.
That's great.
And so in that revelation, when that revelation came to me, I started an entity called Altar Call that's now 3 years old. We have 80,000 students and about 30 full-time team members, and growing, every single day.
And do you guys have meetings, weekly meetings, monthly, quarterly?
Yeah, we're doing all kinds of activities. We do events, we do experiences, we do some off-the-grid stuff. But then we also have Zooms, and we have free events and so forth.
Yeah.
So,
do you ever need performers?
Yeah, of course. We need as many people as we can get to join the movement.
That's great. So how do they join the movement?
If they reach out to me at altarcall.com, we have a free principles course that people can go through to get acquainted with the wisdom that we teach. And then there's other courses and other programs that we have from there.
Okay. So I like to, well, first of all, I wanted to do one quick thing. I haven't done this before, but I have this little book. This is my like little book of one-liners that I think are like life-changing.
Okay.
So this is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go like this, right? I'm doing this with you too, Tim. Okay, I'm going to do like this, and you're going to tell me when to stop, and that's going to be yours.
Okay.
Ready? All right, here we go.
Stop.
Ooh. Yours is, every master was once a beginner. Ooh.
That's good.
I got to put your name there.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's going to have a Ryan name on it. I love that. So in closing, I always like to give my guests like the final word, you know, like maybe something I didn't ask you that you want the audience to know. What would that be?
Something that that you didn't ask me.
Yeah.
That I would want the audience
like
to
final
know.
words, final thoughts.
You know, my final thoughts would just be build your relationship with God. And the more that you do that, every act of obedience is an act of spiritual warfare. And even if it's difficult for you to do it, the more effort that you have to put into it, the more warfare that you're putting out there, the more good that you're putting into the world. So even if it's a struggle, if you're struggling against temptation, pornography, addiction, toxic relationships, like that struggle, I'm proud of you for that struggle. And that's the struggle that you know, that's the good fight. And so just realize that the work that you're doing right now is critical to all of us.
Yeah.
And so I just want the audience to know that, you know, that they have support and that we're proud of them, and that I want to help them on their journey to you know, to actualize their very best self.
You're so good, Ryan. I just love your spirit and like who you are and who you've become.
Thank you.
Because there's so many, you know, this is why I surround myself with the Tim stories of the world. And, you know, now hopefully you and I are friends. But I love being around people that are all about, like, how can I change lives? I feel like I wake up in the morning, we were talking about this, and every day is new for me. It's like, whose life can I change today? But I want to encourage you, if you're watching right now, that take every day and make it a new day. Don't take your past, your old stuff, what happened yesterday, the stress, the anxiety, whatever, into the next day. Make every day a new day where you get to, I posted this today on Instagram, where it's a movie every day. Today, my movie was Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and that was the kind of day I was going to have today. What is your movie today? What's your movie today?
I don't really have a movie today.
Come on, what?
What's my movie today? I don't know. I don't remember the last movie that I watched.
Yeah.
I watch a lot of like documentaries and stuff like that.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have a documentary about you.
Yeah, on YouTube, there's a documentary called Nothing to Lose, the documentary. So that's my movie.
Okay,
Shameless plug.
Good. And you also produce, right? You're doing
I've produced
some
a few
shows
films,
and stuff.
yeah.
Okay, all right, come on. You said you did. What were the two films that you were talking about?
Chris Brown's documentary, My Life, and as well as I was part of Mary J. Blige's documentary as well.
That's awesome. You like music, obviously.
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. That's why we sang today.
Yeah.
So where could people find you? This is your camera.
Altercall.com, altercall.com.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
For being here. And thank you all for being here. My name is Sally Colón. Make sure to follow me on Instagram at Sally Colón, the number 1. And then TikTok, I'm Cool Mom Sally, thanks to my kids. They came up with that name. And then make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel, which is just Sally Colón. And we will see you next time on Welcome to My Clubhouse. Bye-bye.